Hello and welcome, everyone. Just give us one moment here to pull our cameras up. Alrighty. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cooking Connected. If this is your first time here with us, hello. Welcome to another episode. My name is Sajwa, and joining me here today is my coworker, Jordan. We've got a volunteer, Clayton. And we've got Chef Jeff again, another volunteer with us. So Cooking Matters Minnesota is in collaboration with the University of Minnesota Extension, and together we work to bring nutrition-based cooking classes. These cooking classes are 6 weeks, and they meet once a week for about 2 hours. In that time, we'll have a chef that will do a cooking demonstration and a nutrition educator. And then you get to learn a lot about that recipe and some nutrition that kind of go along with that. And at the end of the class, the best part is eating together. So following that same format, we're going to do something similar today. But before we get started with today's recipe, I do want to just do our quick survey. And of course, this information is going to be in the description box of this video. So check that out. And we do appreciate all of the responses you guys give us. It really helps us just continue this work and improve as we go. So the program code, make sure we're in screen there. The program code for this week's episode of Cooking Connected is going to be E102263. Again, that's a program code for this week's survey. If you have a couple extra moments today, please take that survey for us. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Jordan and Chef Jeff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sajwa. So today we're going to be making a couple of really awesome recipes. First, our coconut crusted tofu, and then a Thai crab salad. So we'd like to thank the recipe creators for these recipes, Darlene Schmidt, and then we also have Katie and Kate of wellvegan.com. So we'll go ahead and throw the recipe links, of course, in our live chat, as well as the description box of the video. So please check those out for these amazing recipes. With that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Chef Jeff to show us today's recipes.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's nice to see you all again. So today, just like as in any other day, when I'm in the kitchen and I'm going to prepare food, I'm going to do what? Wash my hands, right? So I'm going to roll up my sleeves. Okay, I'm going to turn on the water as warm as I can get it and tolerate it. Rinse off and then soak all the way up, okay? All the way up, rubbing like this, rubbing in between the fingers, getting my fingernails, all right? And then I'm going to rinse off. And this whole process takes about 20 seconds. So you can either sing happy birthday really loud to your family or sing the ABCs, whatever you want to do, either way, or count 20 seconds. Rinse off and then dry off, okay? And it's really important, another thing, as far as food service and cross-contamination go, try not to wear too much jewelry. You'd be working with your hands. That's why I roll up my sleeves. I don't wear my watch. I don't wear any bracelets or anything like that. So be aware of those kinds of things because food particles can get trapped in your jewelry. If you're wearing a diamond ring, there's all those facets in there. So bacteria will grow and then you can cross-contaminate and unfortunately make maybe somebody else sick or yourself sick. So please be aware of that. Here is where we're going to start off with this Thai crab salad. I've got the ingredients right here. So first thing we have is I've already chopped this up and I used the proper cutting technique, okay? So my right hand is the knife hand. My left hand is what holds onto the vegetable or whatever I'm cutting. So I'm always going to make a claw, turn my fingernails, my fingers inside and tuck my thumb inside as well. So I'm making a claw holding on. Sometimes I spread them out as I'm chopping, okay? So I'm using this part of my knuckle, my finger, as a guide as well. So it's the safest way to cut vegetables without cutting your fingers off. I've taught this class and other classes for many years, and thank goodness nobody has cut themselves. So in this bowl, I've already prepped up. This is called mise en place and means everything in its place. And what else do we call it in Cooking Matters?
Having our mess in place.
Mess in place. Oh, right. I like that. So this is our mess in place. I've gathered all of the ingredients for the recipe, gathered all my tools, bowls, thermometers, whatever I'm going to be using to prepare this recipe in an expeditious way, because we don't want to go to the grocery store later on and find out, oh shoot, I forgot to do something else, so I don't have this. So this helps expedite, makes things go by faster. Mise en place, that's what it's all about. So we have 2 cups of chopped cabbage right here. This is a mixture of mostly Napa from our garden, and some regular head cabbage, English cabbage, I think it is. And then I have 1 cup of, the recipe calls it coriander. I think that's what they call this in other countries. It's, in our country, we call it, or in most countries, it's called cilantro. The coriander is actually the seed that comes from the cilantro plant. It's also called Chinese parsley. I used to call it Mexican parsley because I thought it was just solely for Mexican cooking, but it's also in many Asian and Indian, Middle Eastern recipes as well. So it's very versatile in lots of foods. And don't forget to use, all this. Cilantro is different from parsley. You don't really eat the stems of regular parsley, Italian parsley, flat leaf, but you can eat the stems. There's lots of flavor in here. It's really, really good. So don't throw that away. Chop it up and add it to your ingredients. So I also have some green onions. And what I did was, if this is a green onion, I sliced them this way first, and then I cut them on the diagonal like that to give it some kind of fun look. Because you want to have some artistry, different dimensions, textures for your dishes. Here's a carrot that's been julienned. These are bean sprouts. These are canned bean sprouts. If you can find the fresh bean sprouts, that would be better. They taste better. These canned bean sprouts taste like they came from a can. even though I rinsed them off for a couple of seconds, 10, 15 seconds, they still taste like they come from a can. They feel like they're pre-cooked. I mean, they're still good, but if you can find the fresh bean sprouts, it adds a nicer, crispier crunchiness to this dish as well. And then lastly, we have this crab meat. This is the Geisha brand crab meat, and I think there's 6-ounce cans. This recipe is calling for 1 cup. Is it 1 cup? I think it's 1 cup of crab meat. Yes, it is. So what are you going to do with the leftover? Well, you know, you can always add it to maybe make a crab omelet, crab sandwich, something like that, crab roll.
So
I'm just going to put it all in here.
yeah, if
Yes.
crab is too expensive of an option, is there another option that we can use?
Great idea. I was about to bring that up because some people are allergic to crab. They have those allergies to crustaceans. This is one of my favorite foods in the world. That when I was in Thailand a couple of years ago, my friend introduced me to this. This is called shredded squid. It's actually, I mean, it's like squid jerky, and it is the bomb. It chews like jerky. It stays, you know, it's chewy. It says hot, but I don't really taste the hot or the heat from it. You can buy this at a lot of Asian grocery stores. I've even found it at Cubs. So eat it as a snack, add it to the salad. But this stuff is, yes, good.
Would you ever suggest like an imitation crab, Jeff?
Oh, yes, good idea. Imitation crab is actually usually pollock or some kind of whitefish. If you've ever seen those, there's these huge boats out there near Alaska where they're catching this fish, or on the other side of the coast as well. And they have tons of pollock coming up. And in about a half an hour, they're filleted and frozen and boxed. But they take the leftover smaller pieces and turn it into a paste. And then this paste is called surimi. And then they kind of flavor it a little bit, sweeten it up, and then color it so it does look like the fake crab.
Mm-hmm.
Really
There's
cool
a couple of different options for you. Sometimes crab can be a little spendy. We are using a canned option today, so that is an option that's a little bit more reasonable. They also have the imitation available. So there's a lot of different options, as well as the squid jerky that Jeff is mentioning as well. I'm interested to try that, Jeff. I haven't seen that before.
You're gonna thank me you did.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, if you like jerky,
Yeah.
it is so good. And plus, that bag is less than $3.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so and the can is a little over $3, so you're getting a whole lot more of the squid jerky than the crab itself.
Mhm.
Plus, it's gonna, you know, this canned crab is gonna taste canny. So anyway, I've already made this dressing as well, and this dressing is 1/2 cup of coconut, 1.5 tablespoons of fresh lime juice. And I put in some crushed chilies, just like the same things you put on pizzas. And I added the coconut sugar. Here's some coconut sugar. It resembles brown sugar. It's a lot more granulated though, whereas, you know, brown sugar has molasses in it, molasses products, so it's kind of more moist. This is not. This is just coconut sugar. Then lastly, I add some fish sauce, and you can buy fish sauce at, I think, Cubs, as well as many of the Asian grocery stores as well. This stuff is really good. It takes a while to get used to it because when you open up the bottle, it does have a ancient fish smell to it. I should say. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and make this salad, toss it, put it in the refrigerator, and then we will get on to this tofu recipe that sounds really good. So I've got, oh, peanuts too. These are just roasted, dry roasted peanuts that are unsalted. So anyway, I'm just going to stir it around. And then we will put it back in the fridge.
A really great option for a side dish. It's going to pair really well with our coconut tofu today. A really great summer option too. And I just love how you can make it ahead of time, and then Jeff's just going to throw it in the fridge and it's ready for later.
Yes. And the shredded cabbage, or the sliced cabbage, shredded cabbage, yes, will hold up really well in the refrigerator. I mean, it's going to take a couple hours, just like when you make coleslaw at home. It'll eventually break down, but you really want to have this salad, make it cold and then eat it pretty close as possible to when you're going to serve it. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to put this in the fridge. Okay, so here's our tofu. Let me check the temperature of this oil. It's fine. So what I've done is we have the recipe calls for extra firm tofu, and it's really, really important that you get that one. Unfortunately, this is just firm tofu. It's not the soft or the silken tofu. You want the hardest one, this extra firm tofu. And it's easier to slice. So what I did was, you take it out of the package. There's a brine inside the package, and drain it. And then I put it on a plate, and I took some paper towels and tried to absorb as much of the liquid in the tofu as much as possible. So after about 15-20 minutes, I would flip it over, apply some new tissue to it, and like I said, try to get as much of the liquid out of there as possible. And then I've been marinating this. I took some soy sauce, a quarter cup of soy sauce, and a quarter cup of coconut sugar, mixed it around, put it in the microwave for 15-20 seconds to let the sugar dissolve. And then I added a small lime juice to this mixture, and only a half a teaspoon, you can add more, fresh ginger that I shredded or grated and added it to the marinade. You can add more to it, but this marinade is really, really good. It's a good recipe. And so I cut up the tofu and to this size, bite size, and I've been marinating it now for about an hour now at room temperature. So it's about ready. I think it's ready to go. Turn on this.
And there are some, just speaking of the removing that moisture from the tofu, we were just talking about this earlier. If you're a huge fan of tofu, there are tofu presses out there. That's one of those kitchen gadgets. If you want it, you can go out and buy it on certain areas, but they have little presses that will press your tofu and get rid of that moisture that Jeff was talking about. So that's an option as well if you're a really big tofu fan.
I'd like to see that. I have to Google that thing, see what it looks like.
Yes,
interesting.
Kind of has rubber bands on it, and then you just clamp it in and it just presses everything down.
Oh yeah. Does it work on the the middle range of tofu as well?
Yeah, you kind of have to be careful, but it works definitely.
Because what happened with me when I was hand squeezing it at first, the edges started to break. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you just got to be careful that if you push too hard, the edges might the whole thing might start breaking up. So be careful with that. And as far as I forgot to mention this about the coconut milk for that recipe. It's for this recipe, actually. This is the sauce right here. So this sauce, it calls for coconut cream. So there's 3 types. There's a coconut cream, which is usually for desserts. There's also a coconut milk, regular coconut milk. And then there's a light coconut milk as well. So you choose the one you want. The cream, like I said, is for desserts. It's very rich and satisfying. Of course, it's going to be full of calories as well. but it's delicious calories. I can tell you that. They're awesome. I love it. I love using the coconut cream when I'm making curries, but like I said, it's lots of flavor, but it's lots of calories too. So here's a half a cup of coconut milk, and there's only 2 tablespoons of pineapple juice, 2 teaspoons of lime juice, and some garlic chili sauce. Let me show you the garlic chili sauce I use. And that's this one right here. See that? Okay. Like that. This is the one, and it's very, very hot. Okay. It's not the same as this one right here. This one is sweetened, and it's used for, like, you know, coconut shrimp or these different kinds of spring rolls. But you could substitute this one if you don't want the extra heat. You're just going to get more sugar, and you're going to get some more shredded ginger, I believe, in here, and some pieces of chili flakes. So that's the sauce for this coconut crusted tofu. So we're going to take the coconut and put it into this batter mixture. And the batter consists of 2 tablespoons of wheat flour, 2 tablespoons of it is cornstarch, then a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of water. That, and stir it around. Make it all smooth. It seems like, I think when I looked at the picture, it's not completely covered in batter at the end product. So don't worry about it unless you really want to make some more batter and make sure it's completely covered up to your liking. That there like that. And here is a mixture of it's not equal parts. It is 1/2 cup of panko breadcrumbs, Japanese breadcrumbs, Japanese style breadcrumbs. They do make sandwiches over there, just in case you didn't know. And this is 3/4 of a cup of shredded coconut, dried coconut. And you can use either one. You can use the sweetened or the unsweetened, whatever one you prefer. So let me make this, let me get this out of the way and check the temperature of my oil. I want to get the oil up to about 350 degrees. And you can use a saute pan or a sauce pot if you want to. Put this into, turn up a little bit more.
So what other ways can we prepare tofu? I know I've seen baked tofu before and grilled tofu, but we're frying today, obviously. Are there any other ways you would suggest making tofu, Jeff? Or is that primarily?
We baked it, right? Incorporating it into the recipe itself. If you're going to say you're going to make an omelet, and then you would chop up the tofu, just cook the tofu and then use that as a filling, as well as like mushrooms and onions, things like that.
And of course, we've recommended before, like if you're making smoothies, silken tofu is really great for adding some protein to some smoothies. We'll discuss protein a little bit more later on, but just remember there are different types of protein, that too. But there are different types of tofu. The extra firm that we should be using today, there's a firm, and then there's the silken. So just remembering that and using what would be appropriate in your recipe.
Okay, so we want to keep one hand wet and one hand dry. Okay, so I'm going to use the right hand. Make sure there's liquid on there. There is. And I think I'll just use the fork right here as well. Make sure it's all covered up. Can you see that very well? And then I'm going to pick up some of the breading right here and then top it just like that, and just use the back of my fingers to press lightly on there so it sticks just like that. I want to turn that really nice. So we'll keep doing that. Oil's getting hot.
Well, Jeff, would now be a good time to go over some quick nutrition education?
Please do. Yes, good idea.
Sounds great. So as I was talking about earlier, our protein, we're going to discuss protein a little bit today. We've discussed protein a little bit on Cooking Connected before, but today we're just going to kind of talk a little bit more about it. So protein is an essential macronutrient that's found all throughout our body. If we think back to our My Plate, we've discussed My Plate a lot in Cooking Connected. We may remember that a little less than 1/4 of our plate should be protein. Protein sources can come from both plant sources and animal sources, and it is recommended by the dietary guidelines that you vary your protein sources. So for animal sourced proteins, it's recommended that these proteins come from lean meats. So think like chicken and turkey. Another good source of protein is seafood and fish. It's recommended for most adults that they eat about 8 ounces of a variety of seafood per week to help support health, and it may also help reduce the risk of heart disease. Finally, looking at our plant-based proteins, some sources of those are beans, peas, lentils, nuts, seeds, and soy products. So today we are using a great example of a plant-based protein, our tofu, which is made out of soy. Our plant-based proteins do have some really great benefits that come with them as well. So one benefit that I can think of right away is it's kind of nice on our wallet. So I don't know about anybody else, but a lot of times when I go grocery shopping, our animal products, our meat, that tends to be the most expensive thing on my grocery bill. So if every once in a while you slip some plant-based proteins instead of those animal sourced proteins in, it'll help decrease that grocery bill a little bit. A lot of people like to do meatless Mondays, so that might be something you'd want to implement in your home. There's a lot of different recipes out there, but some recipes or things that I've heard some of our participants do are using lentils as a substitute for ground beef. So tacos with lentils instead, spaghetti sauce with lentils instead, if you like that ground beef in. It's kind of a nice way to up the protein as well. Tofu instead of chicken in your stir fry. So way back in the day in Cooking Connected, we did a veggie and chicken stir fry. You can substitute tofu in that recipe very easily, and it's very good as well. There's also like something like meatless chili you can do, lots of different recipes, as I mentioned. There's also some health benefits that come with plant-based proteins as well. So typically they contain a lot of fiber, which can help us to promote good gut bacteria, can help us with smoother digestion, and it may also help with heart health. So just a few things about protein. There are some really great benefits to plant-based protein. If you're considering a meatless Monday in the future, please consider making this coconut tofu recipe. If you do make the recipe, please don't forget to let us know how it went on our Facebook. That would be great. We'd love to see what you guys are making, if you changed anything. So yeah, make sure to interact with us on Facebook and on YouTube if you make this recipe, and maybe consider a meatless Monday if that's something that you're interested in for your family as well. So how's it looking over there, Jeff?
So far, so good. They're cooking up nicely. Just making sure I have a good temperature so they brown up. Almost done. I'll get these 4 started. I'll finish these up right after this is over.
We do have another, protein source that we're kind of talking a little bit about is tempeh. Jeff, have you ever used tempeh before?
I only once, and I can't remember what it looked like or what I used it for. Sorry, yeah. I'm not a good tempeh expert on that one.
So tempeh is a fermented soybean. It's a little bit different from our tofu. It has a little bit of a different texture, but it is a really great protein substitute as well, or a protein source. So that's something else to try. A lot of times when you're looking for tofu in the store or tempeh, a lot of times it's going to be in that produce section. So if you're new to these substitutes, definitely look in your produce section. They're really reasonable substitutes as well. So like I said, those meatless Mondays, maybe throw in some tofu. Beans are a really great option as well. Of course, nuts for your snacks and things like that. Add a little bit of protein in here and there is a really great option. So I wonder, Jeff, if we ever made this recipe in the future, do you think we could make it without frying it? So like a baked tofu, do you think that would work?
I think, yeah, that's a good idea. I think that just like we do the corn, the baked flaked chicken nugget, it's pretty much, yeah, I was thinking about that as I was preparing this right here. So I think baking it would be a good idea. It would work out too. Yes.
Yes. So we do make a baked flake chicken at Cooking Matters. We do have that recipe on Cooking Connected. So go ahead and check out our other videos if you want to learn how to make baked flake chicken. But Jeff says that maybe using that same technique, you can make this recipe but baked instead of fried. So maybe you're not into fried foods. Just totally fine. Try it baked. It tends to be a little bit healthier when it's baked as opposed to fried as well. Ooh, that looks really good. I can already see the golden brown tofu nuggets there.
Yep, they're finished.
Also thinking about the air fryer. If that
Oh yeah, I should have tried my air fryer too. That would work.
Lots of different options with this recipe. If anybody makes it on the air fryer, please let us know how it goes for you. I think that would be a really fun recipe to try with the air fryer.
All right, so there's our order. I have, if you want, some garnish. I always want some garnish. On here, adding some more cilantro, you can find, and some more lime juice. So I've got a little sprig of lime right here, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze it right on top of that. You don't have to if you don't want to. First, a bite of the salad. Has a nice crunch to it. The dressing is really good. Still nice and crunchy from the cabbage. Not too much fish sauce flavor like I thought there might be. Let's go ahead and drizzle some of the sauce in there.
It sounds good.
It's nice and crunchy on the outside. The tofu has softened up quite a bit, just so you know. So like, if you like that softer texture, that's fine. I would prefer the more meatier, extra firm. And then the coconut flavors coming out really strong. The panko gives a nice crunch as well. And then the sauce is mildly sweet, flavorful from the chili sauce that we added to it with some of the lime juice too. So this is a really good recipe. Both of them are.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for that beautiful recipe.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you, Chef Jeff, for that demonstration. And thank you, Jordan, for the nutrition education that went along with that. So everybody, that's going to be our episode today for Cooking Connected. But before I let you go, we are going to just check that program code again. And I want to give that to you guys in case you're interested in taking our survey. Oh, the light's kind of not doing it justice. There we go. So that program code again is going to be E102263. And we'd love some feedback. And then also, again, like Jordan and Jeff were saying, if you guys try other variations of this recipe, let us know how that goes, because I'm definitely curious myself. So with that, we're going to let you all go. And we look forward to seeing you next week for another episode of Cooking Connected.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.